the journey from complete lack of love, not seeing love whatsoever, to opening up to the frequency of love and recognizing the layers behind each action or each words and everything that happened, but understanding that behind all of this was actually love. That's the driving force.
Hello and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy. And today, my friends, I am so excited to introduce you to a spectacular, incredible spiritual being in a human form who I am so excited to know myself and to let you know about her incredible expertise. We are talking to Dr. Delphine Suyoung, and she is miraculous. I'm so excited. She is a dentist serving patients in Montreal and in the Canadian Arctic Circle, which I'm so eager for her to tell us more about. But more than just a dentist, if there is such a thing, she is an ancient healing spiritual worker who brings to us some incredible techniques in sound healing, Reiki. She's a yoga instructor, and all of these phenomenal skills she interweaves so beautifully to marry Western medicine and modern science with these ancient techniques of healing. I cannot wait to find out how she does it and to share that expertise with you. Welcome, please, Dr. Delphine.
Hello, hello. Hi, Taryn. Hi, Dr. McCarthy.
I'm
And all
so
the
happy to have
people.
you here, my friend. This is so exciting. I've been waiting for this day for months. So, for those of you who don't know, I met Delphine when she did this beautiful sound bath introduction to several dentists and women in the dental field. I was just blown away. I was so impressed with you and so impressed with your story that you shared with us that evening. I'd love
Mm.
for you to share a little bit of a background of who you are and how you came
Mm.
to this point in your journey.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm I'm really blessed and honored to be able to share this story with you and with all of you listening. So thank you for having me. Um, so I've been transitioning out of let's say introducing myself from a standpoint of what we're used to, right? My name is so and so, I'm how many years old, I am a dentist and I do this. But what truly resonates with my soul deep in my heart is that essentially I'm an old soul, an eternal soul that's been here on earth for a really long time. And in this lifetime, as I was born, living this human form, and I really loved your introduction of the spiritual beings living in a human form, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. And that's what we're doing, right? As spiritual beings, as energy, experiencing life through this human suit and what we're capable of. Um, so, where to begin? Up to recent years of like my late 20s, it was very much a typical life journey, so to speak. So, going to school,
Hmm.
receiving incredible amounts of conditioning in the society and institutions and all of that, and really being very disconnected from who I really am deep in my heart and soul. And it was really along this journey of um, human experiences. And I've had a lot of difficult experiences growing up, including my childhood trauma. So this had led me to a point where I really hit rock bottom in my mid to late 20s. And that rock bottom is literally, in the darkness of the dark, where I felt like, there was really no meaning of life, and there's no reason to live. And it was through those moments where I also saw glimpses of hope where it's like, you know what, if life on earth and in human form can be this painful and this much of suffering and this ugly, or there must be a way, there must be a reason why we are here.
Hmm.
Because we're not here to experience just darkness and sadness and grief. I It was like the another voice, like angelic side of voice, was saying, there is a reason why. If life is this painful, there must be a reason why. So it was those little voices where it gave me hope and faith that there must be a reason why. And I was just eager to find out the meaning of life, basically, like why I'm here. If life is this uncomfortable, why am I here? So this curiosity and faith and trusting that, okay, there is a reason, and trusting that voice is really what led me to reconnecting with the deepest parts of myself. So just to recap of this introduction is that I'm an old soul, that had the opportunity to really remember why I'm here on earth, and bringing myself out of this construct of structure, but really seeing it as energy and what we're here to do, why we're here as a collective. And essentially just carrying out all the soul purpose and mission that I wasn't able to fulfill in my other lifetimes, and here to continue that journey as an eternal soul in a different body.
It's just incredible to me, Delphine, for me to even wrap my head around, experiencing this pain that you talk about and
Mm,
recognizing the trauma, the childhood trauma that you had gone through, and then coming face to face with kind of that history and that identity in your 20s.
mm,
What was it that helped you get through it? Like, I know I hear you. You had that angelic voice that was saying there's a hope.
mm.
But what was it that was guiding you in your healing?
It was really my intuition, listening to what I felt was true, what I felt was real.
Hmm.
And during that time, um, part of that dark period was extreme isolation. I had immigrated to Canada, and I didn't have any family or friend support. And first time living in such darkness and cold northern country. So, in that space of silence and darkness, literally darkness, but also within myself, really listening to what was true for me. So there are a lot of noise going on and a lot of opinions around us at all times, right?
Hmm.
And through that, what no longer really resonated with me. So what other people's belief and the way they live their lives, and I don't know if that's really what I want to do. I don't know if that's really aligned with me. So it was really listening to my intuition,
Wow.
and through that, continuously listening. So as an example, I spend quite a bit of time on YouTube listening to spiritual wisdom and knowledge. So I kept following those, even though in my surroundings, they're like, well, what are you doing with your time listening to these these things that are not really practical? But to me and my heart, that's what it really felt like. It was nourishing for me, aside from collecting like intellectual knowledge. Yeah.
And at the same time here, you were going through your dental training, which is very linear.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so tell us a little bit about that.
Mm,
How did you bring those two worlds together during your training and your
mm.
education?
Yeah. When I was in my dental education and undergrad, like spirituality was nothing of my interest. I was really focused on getting things done. And yoga was a huge practice during dental school. And it wasn't necessarily a spiritual aspect, but I just felt good right after a yoga class, in the midst of studying for exams of nonstop exams in dental schools. I knew that that was my oasis, that was my refuge, and that's where I would turn to, going inward in silence and in breathing and movement. So that's the extent how it was merged in my dental training. And it was really after I graduated and started practicing and really working with patients. And as I'm working with patients and applying the intellectual knowledge, also noticing, wait, the patients that come in with dental problems, it wasn't just dental problems. Actually, there's a lot going on in their life, their emotional, mental, all of this that they're bringing is manifesting in their dental health too. So when I started to see that, that's when I became more curious, aside from my personal journey I was on, professionally, I knew that I recognize that, okay, there's actually so much more than just looking at teeth and the millimeters and putting fillings in, but a lot of emotional stuff that patients bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so fascinating that you were kind of learning, encompassing all of our healing needs. When we talk about healing from a mindset perspective, kind of understanding our thoughts and our thought processes and perspective, and then from a very physical perspective, taking care of
Mm,
your body,
mhm,
yoga, and here you are healing as a doctor, as a dentist, healing your patients' bodies, literally.
mhm,
And then now stepping into this really spiritual realm of
mhm,
taking care of them, like in a soul energy work. So,
mhm,
what was your introduction to energy work, to the spiritual
mhm.
healing?
I love sharing about this piece because this really shows that the universe is so expansive and that we're all very much so connected. So, I was mentioning to you, I was at my dark, deepest rock bottom. And at that place, I was always seeking, right? Continuously seeking meaning. And that's what really kept me going, listening to spiritual wisdom and knowledge. And from that point, I had the sincere desire that I wanted to get better. I want to feel better. And during that time, I also started meditating. Um, if I can change my exterior world, then I can change my inner being. So that's where my meditation practices started. And during that time, also, I had this deep desire that I really want to feel better. I don't know how, but I want to.
Mm.
And I didn't even seek out for this healer, but you really meet people like souls that are meant to bring you to the next stage at the right divine moment. And um, essentially, I came across this energy healer as an old man in his maybe, I don't know, late 70s or so, very old and wise old man. And the first time I met him, we had about 5 minutes of chat, and then he said to me some of the things that nobody would have said, very upfront and direct. He was like, "What's wrong with you? What's going on with you? You're not good. You're not well."
Hmm.
And that really shocked me. But at the same time, I felt very heard because in my professional life, I would put on a smile as I'm driving for an hour to the office. If I smile, then I can change my inner being. So, forcing myself to smile. And when you know how that is, when you get to the office, you don't feel good, but you still got to show up, 100% for the patient. So, it was a repetition of that for many years. And when I met this gentleman, and he's like, "What's wrong with you?" Okay, like first time ever somebody pointed that out about me, and he was able to energetically feel into my chakras and my emotions and telling me, sharing with me, you're feeling this way. Yeah, yeah, you're having a hard time with your family. Yeah, this is what's going on.
Wow.
How did you know that?
So wait, how did you meet this man? Was he a patient? Where were you? Were you in the Arctic Circle? Where were you?
At the time, I was living in Edmonton, Alberta. So
Okay.
after I finished school in the States, that's where I immigrated to first. So I was ready to leave Edmonton, make the move to Montreal. And I walked into a UPS store to get some information about shipping boxes. And it was actually the man that runs the UPS store. And in the back, he had an energy healing practice.
Wow,
Yeah.
fascinating. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, isn't that yeah, that's a beautiful story because as you said, the universe was just aligning you
Right.
to bring you to what you needed.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so sorry for interrupting. So
No
please
worries.
keep telling us. So he was able to see a part of
Mm-hmm.
you that you felt was up until that point not being seen, not being
Right.
validated.
Right.
Mhm.
And even the parts of me that I didn't know needed attention,
Hmm.
right? As he was saying, all the reflecting my energy and my state of being, it was like, wait, I really needed to know this, but nobody has told me. Nobody noticed it even
Hmm.
because most of us don't have such energetic sensitivity, right? So when I share that with people around me, they're like, well, you should stay away because you never know what kind of person this is. But my intuition knew just 100% this is the angelic being that I'm meant to meet.
Hmm.
And he explained to me, he didn't actually really get into what we're doing. It's like, are you ready to do some work? And I'm like, what work? Like, what does that entail? Typically, we want to know all that, right? What does that entail? How long is the session? And he didn't tell me any of it. He's like, you just come when you're ready.
Hmm.
So it like that day I went home and I was crying uncontrollably. Everything, all the emotions that I had suppressed for so many years, all of a sudden started to come up. And this is the thing, when we meet an energy healer, there's something magical about their energy that activates something within you.
Hmm.
It's like a mirror of where you're at. So everything was coming out, and I thought, okay, I don't know who this is, but I need to go see him again. So I went back, and the first few sessions, my mind was blown. It was a complete intuitive healing. He would put his hands in certain areas, unblock some of the energies, and combination of chiropractic um, adjustment type. So realigning the skeletal structures and all that. And after the first session, I went home and I was like, what was that?
Hmm.
What was that? But I knew I felt different. So I went home, started researching what that could be, what he used. And then I came across Reiki healing, shamanic healing. And that's how I knew, oh, okay, these things actually exist. And when I
Hmm.
read the descriptions of what it is, it actually felt very, very, it wasn't new to me. It was like, oh, of course. Yeah, of
Hmm.
course, this is how it is. Of course, we connect with the elements. Like it just made so much sense. And that's where the remembrance, I call it the journey of remembering. So that was the beginning of the journey of remembering. And
Wow.
what that is really like remembering who you really are aside from all these conditionings and noise and ego structures and identifications. Like, who are you? Who am I? And remembering that.
Wow. Wow. What a powerful experience. It sounds like
Mm-hmm.
that was.
Mm-hmm.
So take us a little bit deeper into what happened next for you because how did this then lead to you starting to do this work yourself?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love reflecting on these journeys. So it wasn't all rainbows and sunshines and magic. It was actually, that was the beginning of the spiritual awakening. And it was swimming through mud, walking through this dense, muddy forest with no life. It was so heavy in the dark tunnel for many years. But essentially what it did was, as it triggers or as it brings up things in your conscious, subconscious, unconscious layers and all of your energetic bodies, what is heavy, what is not aligned with your highest truth, then things come up and it becomes very, very, um, when you have suppressed all these emotions for 2 3 decades and then everything is coming back up,
Yeah.
it's very, very difficult. So it was the discomfort that was driving me too. Through the discomfort, okay, I'm feeling these emotions and this is just so heavy, deep sadness as an example. Then from there, seeking out what was going to make me feel better. So that's where I started to see a Reiki practitioner consistently. And then from there, I was introduced to sound. And then a combination of Reiki and sound have taken me to a place of healing that was not even fathomable. It was so deep and also so out of the box and out of this physical aspect,
Hmm.
encompassing all mental, emotional, and spiritual and life that is not just this life, but many other lifetimes that we do carry these energetic imprints and trauma and heaviness of. So I was a client for a really long time. And then I saw my life literally transforming um, at the speed of light and being able to see through the illusion of the reality, seeing things clearly that I didn't use to see before when everything is blocked and clouded. Um, and to put it simple, it was the journey from complete lack of love, not seeing love whatsoever, to opening up to the frequency of love and recognizing the layers behind each action or each words and everything that happened, but understanding that behind all of this was actually love. That's the driving force. And
Wow.
yeah. So now from there, naturally, as I was progressing in my journey, it was like, okay, well, I really want to know what these modalities are, especially that are so frowned upon in the scientific realm. Because I did feel that resistance in the beginning too, right? Like, no, Reiki, no, thank you. But it was through my own experience realizing that, oh, okay, so this is not a bad thing. This is not a negative thing, but this is also part of the conditioning that we've been part of. So just wanted to understand it more for myself. And as I was doing the training, then I was getting glimpses of my life's past lives, doing the same work that I'm doing now, and realizing, oh, okay, aligning with my soul purpose and mission, which is continuing to do what I left at, where we left off.
If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you didn't get into business to be miserable. The problem is that people feel that if their business gets busier, if they start becoming more successful, that happiness will eventually set in. But it can actually get worse. This is why I created the Business of Happiness Prosperity Coaching. In this one-on-one coaching, we look at how to redefine success on your terms and re-find the joy and the passion in your dream. Visit me at thebizofhappiness.com and become the happiest business owner you know. It's a fascinating story. I'm riveted here, and I'm just wondering along this way, because as you know, so many of our audience members are medical and dental
Hmm.
professionals. Imagining you going through this very emotional, soul-searching, time of your life, it's all encompassing, I'm sure. And yet here you are on the other side of you, almost living 2 lives right now is what I'm
Hmm.
picturing.
Hmm.
Really treating patients in a very Western medicine,
Mm-hmm.
clinical, very linear minded way, how did you notice your dentistry changing? How did you notice the way, not just the way you treated patients, but how you felt in the dental world as you were becoming more and more aligned with who you really are and the
Mm-hmm.
truth of who you really are?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning of the journey, yes, it was two separate lives. I felt like I needed to hide, that I'm working with crystals, all these aromatherapy oils. I felt like I needed to hide it. And then along the way, I started to, merge it, how to say, more embodied. So accepting the fact that, okay, this is who I am, and I'm no longer going to hide it. When I started to be more open about me using crystals for meditations or energetic protection, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt so much more free, and I realized, whoa, this is a huge part of me that I've been hiding, and I wasn't fully myself. So now, having integrated these tools and these practices, now when I'm speaking with a patient, it's no longer about, oh, how's your day and how can I help you? Okay, let's look at your tooth. You have cavities here, here, here.
Mm.
But I now tend to ask them, some might say it's more of a personal questions, but it's for me to have a bigger picture of what they're going through in life. So say they broke a tooth. Obviously it was a tooth that was broken because of heavy bruxism. Okay, well, there's a lot of stress in your life, so what's going on? Tell me. And if they're open to it, then I might do a bit of energetic clearing right then and there before getting to the dental part. So I do combine, emotional intelligence, listening to what's going on in their life, and then help them feel more relaxed and at ease during the procedure. Um, so that's the emotional aspect. Sometimes I guide patients through a short meditation, short breathing exercises
Wow.
if they're feeling nervous. And if they're very linear minded, the patients, and very, scientific minded, then I simply bring in awareness to their breathing, just simplifying it, or doing a little bit of Reiki without really calling it a Reiki or any other way, but relaxation method as I'm, giving anesthetics or things like that.
And what is the outcome? What are you noticing in your patients as you're doing that? I love that idea of, you know, I think that people are scared and people
Mhm.
are uncomfortable. And like you say, there's a narrative in our society that this
Mm.
is weird or uncomfortable or
Mhm.
something to be feared.
Mhm.
So I love the idea of, you know, bringing them along the journey without highlighting their fears and exacerbating, because of course they're already fearful being in the dental chair, and
Mm.
with their own anxieties. What have you noticed? Have you noticed a difference in patients in terms
Mm.
of relaxation and getting more comfortable with these procedures?
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. Some patients would say, "Wow, I'm feeling very relaxed." So that's a very common phrase. Oh, I'm feeling very relaxed. Yeah, I don't feel so anxious anymore.
Wow.
Sometimes patients say, I feel high. I don't know what you just did, but I feel high.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. And what really brings me joy at the end of the day is when they came in with fears or like shoulders down, but leave when they're leaving and seeing their eyes, and their eyes are shining, and their smiles, is when it really fulfills my heart.
Oh, I can only imagine. You
Mm,
know, something that you write about on your blog, and we'll definitely leave in the show notes links to your website because there's some great information on your website and also links to some upcoming courses that you'll be offering in the new year on your website. So we'll be leaving that in the show notes for anybody who wants to look up and find out more about you. But
Mhm.
one of the things I do want to touch on in this conversation that I think many medical and dental practitioners might be interested to put a word to,
Mm.
and maybe something they've been feeling, but they've never
Mhm.
known exactly what that is.
Mhm.
And that is, you talk about empathetic distress
Mhm. Mhm.
as a
Mhm.
practitioner,
Mhm.
as a dentist, doctor, therapist.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about empathetic distress?
Mm. My favorite topic. So, one of my
Good.
favorite topics. Empathic distress is something I didn't realize I was suffering from it until I started to learn about energy, and until during COVID, when I hit my burnout stage. This is another topic in it itself, but I had reached a burnout from dentistry and had a concussion. Well, fainted. I had a concussion. And then I stepped away from dentistry for a few months. So, removing myself completely from dentistry, working on myself energetically to really recalibrate, and then feeling super light, like myself and center, and going back to dentistry was a huge awakening. Oh my gosh. I never realized how heavy dental industry is.
Interesting. So because you stepped away, you
Mm,
allowed yourself to get some of that cleansing and
yeah.
healing and to
Mhm.
focus on your spiritual self. And you kind of realized how you'd been putting up a wall and not noticing how heavy
Mhm.
dentistry was.
Mhm, mhm,
Interesting. Interesting.
mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, when you smell something pungent.
Yeah.
It's like in the beginning you smell it. When you're in it, you don't smell it anymore. So that's where I was at. Um, and this constant energetic depletion of taking on energies of the patients and staff. And if we
Mhm.
look at it from an energetic standpoint in a dental office, the energy that is very present is fear, anxiety, worry, nervousness, fear about pain, fear of finances, all of this. So there's really nothing light about that environment. So we're every day stepping into this energetic field of fear and anxiety. And when we put ourselves in that constantly without proper energetic clearing regularly, then it really starts to deplete our own vitality and energy. And now, say we're talking to a patient, and if we're not careful of noticing the emotional changes and the energetic exchange with the patients, then very easily we take on their energy.
Yeah.
So a very simple example is, you're working on a patient that's super anxious and keep moving with the slightest, poke or pinch, then we're on edge because we're watching what's happening. Through this process, we're constantly absorbing anxiety. And
Yeah.
then the patient leaves and we're feeling completely depleted. And this continues until at a certain point, just like, I have no joy. I don't want to go to work. It's so draining. I don't feel like myself. So these are some of the common signs of empathic distress.
So it's so fascinating. Okay, so I was saying the word wrong. It's empathic distress.
Mm,
And what comes to me as you're talking about it is I almost feel like at one point you might even have like a little bit of a rush from it, a little bit of an addiction to it even,
mm,
before the distress part, like a little
mhm,
bit
mhm,
of
mhm,
um an adrenaline rush even, when
mhm,
you're picking up on somebody's energy and
mhm,
not recognizing how much it's taking from you,
mhm.
how much it's draining from
Yeah.
you.
Mhm,
And, when you were talking earlier about the different emotions that are common in the dental office in terms of
mhm.
fear and anxiety, another one that came to me was urgency,
Mm, mhm,
which
mhm.
is a part of all of this. It's just
Yes.
fear by another name.
Yeah.
But I think as the dental practitioner, as the business owner, the
Mhm,
sense of urgency is also a little bit of a feedback. It
mhm,
becomes something that we almost crave when we're so used to it. I
mhm,
know I've noticed that in myself in the dental office. You get in there and you kind of want to keep running faster, faster,
Right.
faster. You
Yeah.
need that extra adrenaline,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is just so interesting.
Yeah. Great
Um,
point.
did you notice that you had a better balance of that when you were paying more attention to
Mm-hmm.
clearing energetically?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So first off, I feel where it really helped me the most was energetic boundaries, recognizing how does energy work and how does energetic protection and boundary help us as a practitioner. So
Mm,
as an example, like when I'm talking to a patient and they share with me their stories of what happened and some unfortunate events that happened in the past in the dental chair, then it's this empathy, listening with our heart. Oh, I'm sorry that happened. But that interaction can easily create this bond, heart to
yeah.
heart bond, and feeling so bad for somebody. But now, rather than feeling so bad and allowing that energy to deplete me, so my Reiki teacher says, it's no help when two people are crying together.
Yeah.
So it's one person crying and the other person helping to uplift or at least just acknowledging what's happening rather than crying together. So now putting up this invisible shield of boundaries between patients. And instead of going into empathic distress, feeling too much of their emotions, feeling bad, I want to do so much for them because I feel bad for them. I want them to feel good. Now, rather, okay, take a step back, it's not always my responsibility to fix the problem.
Hmm.
So, creating that energetic boundary and rather having compassion and doing the best I can in the way that I can provide, not necessarily feeling like it's my problem. And that's the thing. Empathic distress is when other people's problem becomes my problem. And then I carry all his problem, not being able to do anything, but feeling so bad.
Yeah, that clear line between compassion and empathy, not
Mm.
falling into it yourself, being
Mhm,
able to hold
mhm,
it, but
mhm.
at a distance. Interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So, do you have a practice for yourself, a daily practice, or maybe it's something you do before you go into the dental
mhm,
office or before
mhm,
you see patients? What is that
mhm,
spiritual practice that you have to maintain that boundary for you?
mhm. So there's a few things that I do along with my routine practice of yoga, meditation, and sound. Something I found really practical that I've been doing for many years before stepping into the office is taking 3 deep breaths
Mm,
and visualizing my own energetic boundaries. So, energy goes where our attention and intention and breath goes. So, when we create a shield of energetic boundaries, so imagining an eggshell around our body, that's claiming this is my boundary.
mm,
And then um, taking that moment to connect with yourself, with your center
mm,
and then go into the office. And now in the office throughout the day, whoever we talk to, assistant or owner or fellow colleagues or patients, energetic exchange is happening constantly.
mm,
So using this default blank slate before I walked into the office, and then say I talked to a colleague, and then all of a sudden my mood shifted. You know, let's
mm,
say they were talking about, oh, my patient didn't show up, and I'm, anxious because I have an hour and a half gap. And
mm.
then all of a sudden I start to feel, I'm kind of worried. Well, what is my patient going to show up? Oh, okay. So this is not me, but I took on somebody else's thoughts and emotions.
Oh,
Then this practice, which is really helpful, is feeling and visualizing a waterfall coming down. And from my head to toe, really allowing that energy to be cleared out and everything goes down to the earth, center of the earth, and transmuted. Okay, now I'm back to myself, no longer taking on other people's emotions. So I do it, like at least 5, 10 times a day during that whole day at the clinic just to maintain the energy.
Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love the visualization of it. I love those two visual images too. What a
Mm-hmm.
strong and powerful thing. Yeah. I think it's so fascinating how we don't even notice during
Mm-hmm.
the day how much that's impacting us,
Mm-hmm.
and how
Mm-hmm.
just the awareness, the
Mm-hmm.
simple practice of just being aware of how your body is reacting and how your soul is reacting to different heat.
Right.
Yeah, fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So cool, so cool.
Yeah.
So, Delphine, tell us, what's on the horizon for you? What are you bringing to your practice? What are you bringing to your clients? What can we look forward to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm super excited for it. I've been really putting together these wonderful workshops and courses. And ultimately, I do notice the need for energetic awareness and protecting our emotions in the dental field. Now I know that this is a very heavy
Yeah,
um, energy field. So we can all make our lives better in so many different ways. So I'm putting together a course. It's a crystals for healthcare professionals.
cool.
Yes, and crystals have been considered, some object, something beautiful, or some people might say, "Oh, I don't believe in that." But actually, it simply is an energetic medicine, if you will, and it can be explained in many scientific ways too, and all of that will be a part of the course. So how we can utilize these wonderful beings, crystals, this medicine into our daily life to make our lives easier and happier, more joyful and light. And
That is really cool. I'm so excited to find out about that. Will that be something we can find on your website when you do
yes.
launch it? Oh, so
Uh-huh.
cool.
There is a
Definitely.
wait list at the moment. So yeah. And
Okay. That's good. I'm so excited to be looking forward to it. Did you say there
yay.
was another workshop that you're working on?
Yes. So this is gonna be like a signature offer, and it's called Soul Illumination Program. And this is a whole process of deconditioning, deconstructing our conscious, unconscious, subconscious layers and all the energies so that we can align with our truth, with our heart, our soul, and find your soul purpose and mission through that journey. Because that purpose and mission that every one of us has it, we carry that, and it's deeply embedded in our DNA. It's just so many layers of conditioning and beliefs really keep us from connecting with that. And when we do connect with that purpose, then we know no matter what we're doing in life, it can be dentist, it can be being a mother, it can be being a businesswoman, whatever it is, when you are aligned with your purpose and mission, you're just journeying through life in human form.
Sounds miraculous.
Mm.
Oh,
Thank you.
Delphine, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for everything you're bringing to the dental community and to the community at large. And I
Mm.
just honor you for facing those fears and facing those dark nights so that you could bring this beautiful purpose to the rest of us for greater healing. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I would love to, before you leave us today, let us know, what is your definition of happiness?
Mm. Great question. I love that. In recent days, what's really coming up strongly is peace.
Mm,
So happiness, it seemed to me before that, oh, I'm so happy. I'm around, great people, making great memories. And then I realized that's chasing the high and then, highs and lows, but rather it's finding peace through anything and everything, and recognizing that happiness is a choice.
mm,
Peace, internal peace is what makes it clear and what makes that choice possible or easier.
beautiful.
Yeah. How about
Beautiful.
you?
My definition of happiness?
Yes.
Oh, thank you for asking. It's interesting. It's so fascinating to me because I think it changes throughout our lives. And I
Mm,
think that one of the greatest gifts we can allow ourselves is the permission
mm,
to seek happiness. I
mhm,
think sometimes we think it's not available to us,
mm,
or that our life circumstances don't allow for it, or that we don't deserve it.
mhm,
And I think that the pursuit of happiness is so important, and honoring that we're all deserving of happiness. And for
mm,
me right now, happiness is absolute gratitude for everything.
mm,
And I think an underlying acceptance, which to me is peace,
mm,
acceptance of everything in my life right now,
mm,
but that spark and excitement for so much more, that
mm.
eagerness for more. So just being so content with everything in my life now, but so excited for more.
Yay. I
Yeah,
love
that feels
that.
that feels like happiness to me. Delphine, thank you. You are such a beautiful soul. It is such an honor to know you, and I'm so excited to be getting to know you more, and to be working with you hopefully in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you. And thank
you.
you to all of you for joining us today. Be sure to check Delphine out. You'll find her website in the show notes. And please let us know what you thought about this episode and share it with a friend. If you feel like you know somebody who has been struggling with this, not really knowing where they're going in their lives, or not knowing why they're feeling so negative,
Mm,
even when they're following their dreams, perhaps this might be something that illuminates a new understanding and a new perspective for them. And thank you for joining us. Bye bye.